Gentlemen, it was a very interesting week for nerds.
And the Rings of Power just blew up.
Pun intended.
Of course.
Yeah.
And the latest Wakanda Forever trailer came out.
And it is amazing.
Definitely is.
And of course, episode 4 of Andor took us to a planet that we haven't visited since the prequels, at least not in live action. We'll talk about that and more. This is Tatooine Sons.
It's true. All of it.
What is the name of the porg on the Millennium Falcon?
Force is strong in my family.
What do you think his name is? It's a big moment.
I am a Jedi, like my father before me.
Maybe Turbis?
Do or do not. There is no try.
Turbis? Pablo, if you're listening to this live stream, that porg's name is now Turbis. It's a good Star Wars name.
We're not done yet.
These guys recorded an awesome podcast called Tatooine Sons. Everybody listen to it.
This was a first in the history of the show.
What?
You don't remember? We've been doxxed.
Oh yeah. No, I didn't forget.
Yeah.
I just didn't know that's what you were referring to.
No, this is what happens when you say that you like the Rings of Power on Facebook.
It's incredible how upset people get because other people enjoy something.
I mean, I've got to admit, I've poked the bear just a little bit, but not in like saying that people are jerks, but just like, hey, we like the Rings of Power, and then they just like explode all over our comments.
It's like a wind-up toy,
It's
you know?
like, it's like 4,000 comments in an hour.
Hey,
it feels like, you know.
All publicities, well, not necessarily
our
good
personal
publicity.
information shared with the entire world.
Love
So,
it.
yeah.
Love it.
It's fun. Really couldn't care less.
Yeah, anyway. Well, welcome to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast, the only fan podcast to name a canon Star Wars creature and to be endorsed by the writer-director of The Last Jedi, Rian Johnson. And this next part is for you, Pete. We believe that pop culture is the mythology of our generation. There is a story written on our souls, and these myths speak to that story, and that is why we talk about Star Wars and Marvel and DC and The Lord of the Rings and all of these other epic franchises you love so much. I'm David. I'm the dad.
Hi, Dad.
What's up, gentlemen?
Why'd you slow it down?
I don't know.
man?
I thought tried changing it up.
It was a little weird.
Yeah, it
I was like, let's bring it down.
Let's bring it down just a little bit. Play some smooth jazz.
Yeah, I was expecting it.
Some
Yeah.
Kenny G coming in now. I'm honored to be joined every week by my two amazing sons. BB Nate, what you got going this week?
Wakanda Forever is going to be a great way to wrap up Phase 4 of the MCU.
Yes, sir.
End on a high note. With
And let's end on a high note. And Sam, what about you, buddy?
Yeah, I definitely didn't expect to see that so soon in Rings of Power.
Yeah.
So that was something. What about you, Dad?
Yeah, so Andor's, I really do believe we're going to start seeing every storyline with Andor is going to be a 3-episode arc, kind
I
of like
agree.
in the Clone Wars, and I think that's what we're doing with right now.
Makes
we'll talk
sense.
about that.
That's why it's 12 episodes.
And yeah, thank you guys so much for listening to the show. We definitely appreciate it. I'm trying to like envision people listening to our show right now so that I can feel like
In
I'm
this
speaking
closet.
directly.
Like as if we were at a panel at Celebration
Well,
or
I just,
something.
I mean, you're real people out there that are listening.
true.
Sometimes it's hard to think about that while we're recording, because we're in a closet. But anyway, yeah, thank you so much for listening to the show. And Pete, thank you for having me on your show. It comes out tomorrow, I guess. So thank you for doing that. We got to have a great conversation about Star Wars, and he really wanted to dial in that Star Wars or these pop culture is the mythology of our generation. We talked about that a lot. That was a lot of fun. That was a great conversation.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
You got the line. You got to do the line.
But is there anything else that we need to talk about before the line?
No, I don't think so.
Wow. Well, then let's stop talking about what we're going to talk about. Let's talk about what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Is that what I usually say?
I think so.
That's it. That's right.
All right, BB.
Well, we had a surprise drop of Wakanda Forever official trailer this week, and there is a lot to unpack. So let's get right into it.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
Yeah, I can fly.
I'm here to fight for truth and justice in the American way.
The people
people in this room, which one is A, wearing a spangly outfit, and B, not of use?
There's only one God, man. And I'm pretty sure he doesn't dress like that.
That man has no limits.
So are we gonna wear white to the premiere? Like what?
I don't know. I feel like we should.
Dad doesn't know about that.
What are you guys talking about?
A producer or something asked everybody on opening night or opening
Of Wakanda
weekend
Forever?
of Wakanda Forever to wear white in honor of Chadwick Boseman.
There's that whole sequence in the trailer.
Right,
where
exactly.
everyone's
That's what the point is.
We've all got those white long sleeve shirts.
Yeah,
that
I figured we could wear that.
those. Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Mom even has one, and she's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, she's coming?
Oh, yeah,
Awesome.
she's excited about it. So,
That's cool.
Very cool. All right.
Definitely.
All right. Let's
Well,
get right
do this.
into
Let's
it.
talk about it.
Let's start with the kind of the weirdest
Whoa.
part.
I'm not going to let that one slide. Let's start with the.
There was no voice crack.
start with
Let's start with the most confusing part of this trailer. I guess is a good way of saying it. Namor. We actually see a fair bit of Namor in this trailer.
A lot of Namor.
Yeah, I wasn't
his weird
expecting that.
ankle wing flight.
That was
stuff
awesome.
And
Okay.
his kingdom. But the thing is, his kingdom is actually not Atlantis in this movie, like it is in the comics. It is Talokan.
Yeah, that's weird. I noticed that myself, and I was a little thrown off.
So the director said he wanted to just make it his own thing, creation for this movie, probably because Aquaman's $1 billion property now. It might get a little confusing for people
Yeah,
dealing
that's
with
fair.
Atlantis.
Or it looks like they're just trying to
Exactly.
copy it. Yeah.
So they made up a new kind of kingdom, which is fine. It's not that big of a deal. And you notice not a lot of people are talking about it because it's really not that big of a
And
deal.
nobody really knows about Namor's not a major,
even though he's the
character.
first Marvel character.
The very first Marvel character?
Yeah.
Of all the Marvel characters?
One of the first. Yep. In 1939, just about a month or two before Batman premiered in comics, he premiered in Funnies comics or something like that in his own little thing, and then Marvel picked him up after when they created their thing.
Wow.
Did not know that.
So glad that you were here on the show to tell us that.
Yeah.
And all of our listeners. See, this is why you listen to this show. You get that stuff. Because BB Nate's like the comic book nerd.
Yeah, Namor is weird for one of the first Marvel
That is
characters.
weird.
It's strange to have him.
All right.
He actually fought Nazis as well because,
Everybody fought Nazis.
Every good superhero in the 40s fought the Nazis.
And then
Did
became
Batman
an
fight the
anti-hero.
Nazis?
I think so, actually.
Probably.
But what do y'all think of this change? His kingdom being different? Do you think people are going to get frustrated about it after the movie, or do you think people will just look over it?
Well, there's always going to be some group of fans that's going to get upset about it because that's fandom, unfortunately. But I think largely it's a good decision. It doesn't really change anything that much. It's just an underwater kingdom. They're just changing the name, really. And I do think you're right, Nate. I think that's just to reduce
Differentiate
confusion.
it,
Yeah, between Aquaman, because otherwise they're pretty similar characters if you think about it. So I think that was a wise choice. Plus, it probably fits the. I don't know if aesthetic is the right word, but you know how he's much more of like a Mayan or Aztec style
In this
character,
story,
right?
in
Yeah,
this
so it's the
universe.
whole kingdom. I don't think Atlantis fits that. Atlantis is more of a Greek. Is that a Greek mythology thing?
And
so it fits better
in the Marvel comics. It's like super advanced in technology and everything. So
well, they don't seem like.
Well,
they're
isn't
not-
that kind of Wakanda though? That would kind
Exactly.
of make it make sense.
we aren't
for it.
sure if they're going to be.
Well, they've got those weird like breather masks.
That's just
So-
water masks. There's just water in the mask, so they can breathe.
they're just taping water to their
They
face,
basically
basically.
breathe water.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And actually, the masks were a part of it because they were filming during the pandemic, and they're like,
Oh wow.
"This is easy.
Just give them masks.
Just give them masks." So it actually works pretty well. Dad,
That's
what do you
cool.
think of the change?
Well, I mean, I think that it's not going to make that big of a difference because we knew about it being Namor being from Atlantis because we talk about that kind of stuff on this
Right.
show. Otherwise, we would have never really known
Exactly.
that.
I
and
would have
we wouldn't
barely known who
cared.
this guy is.
Yeah, exactly. I do think that the actualies will come out on that, and there'll be a lot of conversation about that, especially when the movie comes out. But in the end, you just move on with your
really
life
change
and
anything.
enjoy a good
Change
movie. It
anything.
looks like it's a fantastic movie from the trailer, so I can't wait to keep talking about it.
Namor seems to be pretty angry at Wakanda
Yeah.
in this trailer for some reason. even going as far as attacking the throne room with Ironheart's actually in that scene too, and you can only see him through the reflection on the window.
Saw that.
And so, any speculation on why he's waging war on Wakanda?
Jeez, the only thing I could think of is maybe someone at Wakanda like killed his parents or something. I don't know, or maybe like I don't know. Maybe they like Wakanda's been encroaching on their land for years and years, and he's just finally had it. He's gotten to that age now where he's a king, and he's like, look, let's do something about this. That's about all I can think of. There's that weird. It's shown up in both trailers. That like boat where they look like they're doing
talk about
scientific
that in
research.
a little bit. Yeah.
Okay, I'm not sure how that plays. So that's probably going to do somewhat with his motivation.
I got the feeling from the trailer that Wakanda is the aggressor in this. And I think that it's because there's some kind of a confrontation between Namor and T'Challa, which results in T'Challa's death. Ooh. And so Wakanda goes to after whatever this nation is again, this people, the Telecon. They go after them, and I think that's what precipitates Namor coming at Wakanda.
Now that actually is pretty accurate to the comics.
Really?
In the comics,
I just came up with that.
I know. In the comics, Wakanda and Atlantis and everything, and Namor and Black Panther go at each other's throats consistently, but they never wage war. And then something happens to Wakanda, and they actually fully attack and destroy all of Atlantis. And then Namor sends a tidal wave, which we do see in this trailer, through Wakanda.
I feel smart.
And it's looking like they move up to where M'Baku's village is, because that's in the snow on top of a mountain, so tidal wave can get there, and the people can't breathe up there due to the fact that they have to be with water and they can't handle cold like that. So
makes sense.
That's most likely what's going to be happening.
Boom!
But
I'm smart.
I think he's going to be a fun character, especially his ankle wing fight thing.
Before we move on, that's kind of one thing I appreciated that they did with this character is they embraced the weirdness of it. Let's just be
Namor
honest.
is a weird character.
That's a weird thing. Why does he have ankle wings? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. They don't sit there and explain it. They're like, look, he has them, and they let him fly. Like, that's all you need to know.
Exactly.
And I appreciate that they're not trying to science away the comic bookness of it. Like, that's just comic booky, and it works.
And Ryan Coogler did say that. The director said that in his Entertainment Weekly interview along with the trailer. He's like, sometimes you just got to be weird with comic books movies, because then you lose, if you don't have it in there, then you lose what a comic book movie is.
So I appreciated it.
Yeah, it's a really kudos to him for doing that.
Yeah.
Let's move on to Wakanda, as I think that's a big part of this trailer. I don't know, maybe Wakanda is actually in shambles after the loss of T'Challa, and we see his funeral and Shuri holding the Black Panther mask.
Intense.
And it is intense. And so how do y'all think they handle the passing of T'Challa in this movie?
Well, I think that the movie starts with the death of T'Challa, and you can have a character, or excuse me, an actor stand in for a battle sequence where Black Panther is killed against Namor, and that's the MacGuffin that starts the story. And I do think they're going to end it with that part of the movie, that the opening to the movie with that. They're going to go and they're going to have a literal on-screen funeral, which will allow fans to sort of have that mourning moment. I also think that everybody at the funeral is going to be wearing white. That's why Coogler wants everybody to wear white, what you guys were just talking about earlier. So that allows it to be sort of that moment, which then really truly does honor
Chadwick.
Chadwick Boseman in this. So
I agree.
I think that's the best way to handle it. I don't think it's smart to have him die off screen. No. I know it's difficult, for obvious reasons. But like Dad said, I think that's the best way to do it, and then have a funeral both for the character and, in a way, Chadwick for the fans. I think that's the most honoring way to do it, and it's a good way to set up the movie. Plus, you're not sitting there wondering, when are they going to deal with this? When are they going to address this? They address it right at the beginning, so you know what you're
it's kind of the way that we had sort of hoped that they dealt with the death of Carrie Fisher in The Rise of Skywalker. Instead, they tried through the CGI, and that was the way that J.J. Abrams and all of them wanted to try to deal with it. But it sort of put you in where you're thinking, how are they going to deal with this and kill her off for like 2/3 of the movie, or what are they going to do with it? And so that you don't have that in this one. You can sort of move forward.
You can, yes. We see Ramonda, the queen queen of Wakanda, talk about how the world feels like Wakanda is vulnerable after the passing of T'Challa. And that seems to be the big plot point of this movie. We see the Talokans and a SWAT team attacking a boat that is researching vibranium and has vibranium on it. So that seems like that's going to be the driving force. So how is vibranium going to play into this movie like it always does when it comes to Wakanda?
Yeah.
And will it be the driving force behind the plot for the war?
I don't know if it'll be a driving force behind the plot, but it's always going to, it's always going to have influence in these stories. I don't think it'll be main plot, but it'll just kind of explain why Wakanda's in the situation they're at. Everybody wants to get their hands on vibranium. Like any government power, any bad guys, whatever, they want vibranium. And now they think, Wakanda's out in the public eye now. Everybody knows about them. And their greatest protector is gone at this point. So obviously everybody's going to try.
They're vulnerable at that point.
Everybody's going to try and get their hands on the golden goose, basically. So that makes sense, but I don't think that's going to be the main plot. I think you need to keep that focused on the Atlanteans. Maybe the Atlanteans want vibranium, but why is my question. Why would they want to get their hands on a bunch of vibranium? So I don't know.
My mind is going blank. The actor who was in Sherlock as Watson. He's
Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman.
Yes.
That's him. He's in this.
He is.
He's a government guy.
He's the same government guy he played in the first.
Yeah. So my gut is that there's a governmental taking over resources type thing going on with the vibranium.
As the US does.
As lots of governments do. We see that going on in Europe and Asia right now too. So that's happening there. So I think that might be the vibranium plot line, and then you've got the war between Wakanda and the Talokans with this. So yeah,
Kenyans. I don't know.
Teleconans
works.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting how they handle Namor and his kingdom in this, because he is an anti-hero in the comics.
He isn't?
He is.
Really?
He helps out the Avengers and the Fantastic Four a lot, but he also fights the Fantastic Four and fights the Avengers a lot. So it's kind of just...
Do they kill him off, or is he like a full-on villain?
I don't know.
You bring an anti-hero in this at the end of Phase 4, and it makes me start thinking Thunderbolts too.
Hey, that would be cool.
Because the anti-heroes are this central to that idea.
Yeah, I could see them putting Namor in the Thunderbolts. That'd be pretty cool.
A mutant in the Thunderbolts and maybe something.
Yeah, I think that's another reason why you don't kill this character off is he's a mutant. He's one of the very few mutants we have confirmed in the MCU right now. So I don't think you kill him off.
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah. So. And let's move to the titular character, I guess, Black Panther. The mantle of Black Panther is kind of up for grabs right now, so let's just speculate on that for a little bit. Dad, who do you think takes up the role of Black Panther?
I think it's guaranteed to be Shuri, isn't it?
We don't know.
It's not fully confirmed.
It's not fully confirmed.
Oh, it's definitely
I don't
Shuri.
know who else
People think that the role and the mantle of Black Panther will be passed around a lot in this movie between a lot of different people.
I could kind of see that.
Ultimately, we'll end up with Shuri at the end.
I could see the main chick for the Dora Milaje, something like that. I could see her taking up the mantle for a minute. I could see Shuri doing it.
The girl that T'Challa was going to marry. Not yet.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, I could see that too, but I think you're right. I think it ultimately does have to pass to
Baku might.
Shuri.
Yeah, that'd be kind of cool. I mean, I just always, I never heard that there would be anything different. I always assumed it was Shuri.
Yeah, I'd assumed it was Shuri too. I think that would make the most sense.
I think they'll handle it right, regardless of who it ends up with, but I feel like Shuri makes the most sense.
One thing I know is this movie looks fantastic. This trailer, the first trailer was great. Yeah. This trailer was even better.
And we got to look at Ironheart and stuff too.
We did get a look at Ironheart. Now, Sammy, you're a big Iron Man fan.
I am.
That's kind of your dude.
He is my dude.
So, what are you thinking of Ironheart now?
I'm cautiously optimistic. I like the suit. I think it looks cool from what we've seen. I didn't like the version that they did in the comics, so I kind of like this better. As long as they, through her character, it's not like I'm replacing Iron Man, but it's more like almost an homage to Iron Man. Like she's like, look, Tony was my hero or whatever. Heck, maybe like he saved her at some point in one of the battles. That'd be kind of cool. And that's why she does what she does, I think that would be cool, and I think it could honestly be a pretty good character.
Yeah, if we go by the comics, Tony actually took her in and noticed her abilities and everything after losing her parents and gave her a place to stay at MIT. She
was a student at MIT.
MIT, and then she built a suit and broke out and kind of went on her own after Tony died. But I think that he got her into program at Wakanda, probably.
That's interesting,
or something.
Because there's the relationship.
Study abroad program at Wakanda.
Study abroad program at Wakanda. Yes, but Black Panther: Wakanda Forever releases November 11th with tickets on sale now. And going very fast.
Yeah.
I, for one, am super excited for this movie and cannot wait to see what happens.
Yeah, this one's going to be a big one.
It's going to be great.
A lot of fun. Good job, BB Nate.
Good job. Good segment.
Good, definitely a good segment. All right. I guess it's time. And I think the random article button on Wikipedia is going to trick the Suns on this week's Is It Canon?
This is not going to go the way you think.
All right, so here we go. If you're new to the show, welcome again. And this segment is basically where we hit the random article button on Wikipedia. We find something in the Suns debate whether or not that topic, that item, whatever it is that I bring up is either canon or legends.
Yep.
Are you guys ready for this one? I think
ready.
This one's going to trick you. The Kraith Squad.
Cool. All right. That really narrows it down.
Yeah. Kraith Squad was an Imperial Army unit consisting of 7 veteran soldiers. They were part of a cleanup crew left behind on the planet Tal. After the assault on the rebel outpost located on the planet, they participated in the subsequent skirmish on Tal. The squad was armed with hunting blasters and grenades.
That's a lot.
Sounds comic to the core, in my opinion. Sounds something straight from the comic. There was that real long Star Wars run, the main Star Wars run.
I think
I could see them showing up in there easy. There's even that cool clone squad. I think it was Stormtrooper squads, like Stormtrooper Force 99, very similar.
Something like that.
Which I still think is where, the Bad Batch ends up, or something like that. So I could see this being thrown in that comic run easy.
And so
I'm going to guess canon.
Okay.
And yeah,
sure?
I'm going to leave it like, shoot, it's 50-50. I mean, there's not a lot to go off. There's not even a timeline really.
No, this seems very Legends to me. It just feels Legends.
Okay.
Because, this feels like it could be either a subplot in a book or something, comic even. You got to remember Dark Horse had a long comic Legends run.
That's true.
It could be something from Dark Forces even. So I think this is Legends.
Oh, do we have disagreement
we
this
have a
week?
split.
So
one of us is
Samuel
gonna be
the
right.
Hutt says canon, and BB Nate says legends.
We will have... One of us will win.
You guys want to find out who?
Yes.
Okay. It's from Star Wars Adventures Journal 2. The Return to Tal was an RPG adventure written by Gary Haynes for the Star Wars Adventures Journal 2. It was a follow-up to Uninvited Guests published in the first Adventure Journal, and therefore it is legends,
but not a novel or a comic book.
So. I gotta start guessing RPGs because that happens.
Well, there's so many of them out there.
That's one corner of Star Wars that I don't really think about very much and haven't explored much. So that's kind of cool.
That's good.
Love it.
All right. Shmuley?
That's me.
You ready to do this?
Ready. Let's go.
All right. Let's get doxxed. All right. Go for it.
This latest episode of Rings of Power was just perfect. And while we didn't get any Elrond or the Harfoots, we got everything else we could have wanted. Awesome battles, more lore, and earth-shattering twists.
Middle Earth shattering?
So let's talk about all of it.
I missed the Harfoots.
Be on your guard. There are older and fouler things than orcs in the deep places of the world.
All right, then, keep your secrets.
You're coming to us. Is as the footsteps and steps and steps.
There are many magic rings in this world, Bilbo Baggins, and none of them should be used lightly.
So what do you think about the Hobbit so far compared to the actual books?
Oh, yeah, you guys are reading those.
The movie. The Hobbit's good. It's a good book, of course. It's a classic.
Tolkien.
It's Tolkien. So It's gonna be good.
Lots of
It's
exposition,
different
too.
It's very different from the movies.
Yeah.
Thor and Oakenshield is a nice guy, which is so different from the movies. In the movies, he's super short and doesn't like Bilbo and just wants
Very
to go on his
stoic.
own, and he's very stoic.
Do you remember reading The Hobbit?
I remember that I read it. I don't remember a whole lot about it.
Okay, you were little.
Yeah, I remember reading it a long
But
time ago.
Thorne's like a good dude. He was like they sung that whole song, which is a really long song, in his book. And then, you know, can I talk?
I like that song. I'm
It is a good
going to
song.
give you a
Backing
musical
track?
bed.
No. But they sing that whole song, and, you know, they explain their whole heritage, and then Bilbo's like, so what is the deal? And Thorne's like, we just explained it in the song, but it's all good. I'll explain it again.
That's
I'm like,
so funny.
that would never happen in the movies. What's
Right,
going
it's
on?
very different.
is.
He has a lot more space.
He does, but
in
it's
the story.
good. No, it's good still.
That's cool.
So.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Well, let's just go ahead and get into this episode. Episode 6 of Rings of Power gave us our first long-awaited big battle. I don't think we've really gotten one yet, and it did not disappoint. Although it definitely didn't shy away from the violence and tragedy.
I kind of want to watch it again. Can we pause real quick? Sorry.
Sure. No. At one point, after it seemed the villagers had won the battle, they learned that they were actually fighting their own, the people who left a couple episodes ago to join Adar or whatever. And at this pretty low moment, they were attacked yet again. And from then on, it was more series of events that seemed to just keep getting worse for the villagers until Numenor showed up. But even that was also pretty short-lived. Why do you think it's important in this story, and just stories in general, to show the despair and tragedy that our heroes have to endure?
Well, I think it's important because it makes the times that they have a good moment, they have hope and stuff, it makes it more powerful instead of just, you know, kind of being lighthearted the entire show and easygoing, or even like with like procedural shows, you know, they like introduce something in an episode and then wrap up the plot point in 45 minutes. It's kind of just like, okay, they're gonna have a problem point happen and halfway through the episode, or 15 minutes left in the episode, and they'll figure it out, and then we're good. And it's kind of just, there's no weight to it. But when you have shows like this that let it breathe and go over multiple episodes and have that tragedy and have that despair, it makes it hit harder when there's something good that happens to the characters, and it makes it more emotional. And that's what made Lord of the Rings so good. It's long, and there's a lot of despair, and there's a lot of tragedy.
mostly despair.
But then you get to the end, and that last 30 minutes hits you so hard because it's so peaceful and happy, and you're like, these characters finally caught a break. And so that's why it's important to have that type of stuff with stories.
You know, we open every one of these episodes with what, you know, Pete and I talked about on Around the Galaxy, you know, that pop culture is the mythology of this generation, right? And so there's a story that's written on our souls. The reality is life doesn't always go the way that you want it to go, and so when you deal with these big epic stories, it's on a scale of epic proportions, but the reality is bad things happen, and life doesn't always work out, and you see those struggles, and so we relate to those struggles, but we also relate to the hope that can come when we see those things resolved. And so that's why these stories are so important, because they help us kind of relate to those things within our own lives. We watch those things play out on the screen, or in the books that we read, or the comics that we read. And when the good guys win, that's one of the things that I didn't, you know, that we talked about it on the episode where we really broke down the Eternals movie. There wasn't really clearly good guys and bad guys. Everybody was sort of a little bit bad, and everybody was a little bit good, and it didn't work because of that.
Except for who was it? Gilgamesh or something?
Yeah, Gilgamesh, but then he died early on. So he was the best guy in the whole movie.
Can't kill off the best character.
Right. So that's why we love these types of things in our stories, because then when the victory is achieved, and when the good guys win, we feel that victory more as a result of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's the best stories have despair and tragedy and darkness to it, because the light shines even brighter.
That's what. Well, I mean, the ultimate story from our perspective, is the story of Christ being crucified and dying, and that is the ultimate defeat, right?
Yeah.
But he comes out victorious on the other side, and the resurrection, the hope of the resurrection is there, which then is what makes Christianity different than any other religion out there, and so that's why it's endured, among other reasons. But that's yeah.
Well, another pretty big point in this episode is it seems to be a common theme for Rings of Power these past couple of episodes, where we get a little bit more background and lore. This time, in this case, for the orcs. In this episode, it was confirmed, or the theory was confirmed, that the orcs were elves taken by Morgoth and tortured and corrupted.
Which we talked about as a theory on our last episode, right? Yeah.
Tortured and corrupted and turned into the orcs that we know them today. And again, that was never really confirmed in anything. That was more just a generally accepted fan theory. But then in classic Rings of Power fashion, they go and are like, yep, this is the origin for it. And I thought it was pretty cool. But another really big point, at least for this episode or for this show, is we learned that Adar is not Sauron, because it's obviously the stranger.
It's not the stranger.
Who is it then? Who is it?
Yeah.
We haven't seen him yet.
Okay.
It is not the stranger.
It's the stranger.
You will be proven wrong on Friday when they tell us who Sauron is.
Okay.
But we learned that he was, in fact, one of the...
Nori.
It's Nori.
It's Poppy.
Yeah. But we learned that Adar was, in fact, one of the very first orcs, or as Galadriel calls him, the Morandir. Or I think I'm saying that right. I don't remember. But Adar even then claims to have killed Sauron, which was pretty big revelation. But one thing that I found very interesting is when Adar was talking about the orcs and stuff, he was like, essentially like they're people too. They have lives and names and hearts and stuff to them too. And he's like, they're my children. And then Galadriel was all like, well, they don't deserve. Adar even said something about like the breath of life is in them too. Really pretty interesting stuff. So Nate, I want to get your opinion too, but Dad, you specifically, what are your thoughts on them almost in a way humanizing the villains of this show? I mean, because one staple for Lord of the Rings is like the bad guys are bad guys, and they're pretty clear that they're bad guys.
Yeah, but the bad guys never think that they're the bad guys in anything.
That's true.
Right? The villain is always the hero in his own story.
Right.
Adar thinks he's the leader of the good guys. In this. So when it's why you don't trust anything Kylo Ren says in The Last Jedi, because he's the villain in this. And people have gotten so confused in that story because they're like, oh, let the past die, kill it if you have to. And that must be the direction that Rian Johnson is going. No, that's the exact opposite of what Rian Johnson's saying, in that Kylo Ren's the villain. Adar's the villain. He's telling the story from the perspective of the villains, of the bad guys. We'll just go there because that's the mindset that I'm in. Lucifer doesn't think he's evil. If you believe in a literal Satan, Satan doesn't think he's evil. The forces of Satan and darkness don't believe they're the bad guys. They think that they have every right to be rebelling against Yahweh, against the God of the Bible. And so all of that together, if you hear their side of the story, they're going to come out and tell you that why they deserve a seat at the table, or why they deserve to be considered the victims in their own story.
But do you think, like what his argument is, the breath of life is in them too? Are they deserving of everything that everyone else is deserving? That whole argument he gave. What were your thoughts on that?
I think that the harsh reality is that evil has to be dealt with. And in the greater story that we put our trust in, evil is defeated and destroyed and obliterated. And rebellion against the God of the Bible results in judgment. And that's what we're seeing in this story with this, which doesn't surprise me because of Tolkien's worldview. So,
right.
I feel like that's But it is an interesting thought exercise to see it from the perspective of the rebels.
Literally play the devil's advocate.
Yeah, literally in this one. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, on a very different note, or not a very different note, but on a less deep note, is Adar lying? Did he really kill Sauron?
I don't think so. I don't believe he did. I think that, because that'd be weird. It's like Thanos, I killed Sauron to resurrect Sauron. Like, why would he be trying to resurrect Sauron if...
Well, he's not. He was trying to make a place for the orcs. Remember?
Okay. Well, by doing that, he's resurrecting Sauron.
How is he resurrecting Sauron? I don't remember that.
If Mordor rises up, then doesn't it fall back into darkness and Sauron can now take power again?
No, if Sauron's dead, apparently he's just dead.
He just thinks Sauron is dead.
But also, like, Waldreg says that the stranger and that whole shooting star thing is the sign of Sauron's return. So, and obviously Adar knows about that because Morgoth's weird, or Sauron's prophets or something are now looking for the stranger.
Oh yeah, we haven't seen any of them yet.
So obviously there's something going on with Sauron. And Adar
I'll go ahead and
knows about
I'll clear everything up.
Okay. All right, I'm ready.
Adar is not lying. He really believes he killed Sauron, and he didn't kill Sauron.
Sauron came back in the form of the stranger.
He's not the stranger. That is Gandalf the Grey. Before he becomes the Grey.
Sauron.
You're wrong. All right.
We'll find out.
I
am very not happy with IGN, though, for spoiling the whole orc thing.
They did?
Yes. Just out there. Like,
before you saw the episode?
A few hours after the episode came out, there were an article about
That's annoying.
Popular Lord of the Rings fan theories are confirmed in episode 6 of Lord of the Rings, of Rings of Power. And I'm like, really?
Oh, thanks a lot. Yeah, but the reality is, if you're just an average person,
you won't know what
you don't know what the fan theory is. We had just talked about the fan theory a few days earlier, so that's why.
But if you're watching Rings of Power and you're really into it, you're gonna know what it is.
I get it. All right.
Cool. Well, in the climax of this episode and possibly the season so far, Waldreg, as you mentioned, Nate, uses Morgoth's sword to literally open the floodgates and cause Mount Doom to erupt, scorching the Southlands and then plunging them into darkness.
Yikes.
Knowing that this is how Mordor came to be, will this kind of change how you view it and view the story in the movies on later rewatches?
It's just a little backstory. It'll be fun to see it and understand how that area was created and how that came to be. I also found it funny how Isildur was like, I really like the mountains. I'm like, of course you do. For sure. But,
that one specifically.
Yeah, right over there. You're going to love that one. But I think it's going to be a lot of fun because we all compared this. The Southlands on the map are the exact same formation as Mordor.
Right.
And so we always knew that the Southlands were going to, become Mordor. That wasn't something they were trying to hide. But I think in how it was going to be, Mordor was kind of the thing we were wondering about. And I do like how the sword thing is finally revealed as to what its purpose is, because it was something they introduced in this show, and it was always something kind of just like, why is this here? I mean,
I'm wondering if the actualies are going off about how this didn't the way it happens in the books. Or in the
that's very true. I haven't
seen anything about it.
I haven't either.
I'm going to be honest with you. I haven't been paying attention to them since they doxed us. Anyway, but yeah, so I think it's fun. It's one of those, backstory type situations, that you love to have, and that it informs the way that you watch later films or earlier films in this case, but later in the story.
Yeah.
That's
yes.
You know what I'm talking about. And so I think that's fun. Yeah, I'm cool with it.
What do you think's next for our heroes? Because the guys who are in the Southlands right now are really not in a very good spot.
Yeah.
So what do y'all think happens next?
Bronwyn's dead. I'm just going to say it. She is.
You think?
Oh, 100%.
Oh.
They were setting it up all last episode. They've teased us so many times, and then they're like, oh, wait. Nah, she's good. It's fine. And then it exploded, and we're going to find out that she's dead. And Theo and Arondir are going to be alive.
Except they released a clip today where she's having a conversation with, what's the one that they think might be the king of the Southlands?
Halbrand.
Didn't she have a conversation with him in the last episode?
Yes.
Yeah. So
maybe I'm wrong. Okay.
You were sleeping.
No, I wasn't.
You were sleeping.
No, I wasn't.
At certain points, you were asleep. Dad.
You were.
No, I wasn't.
You were. We looked over and your eyes were closed. But I think that Andor's going to have to raise Theo now. They kind of were setting that up with a little father bonding moment because he's the father. Let's just all agree on this.
Then she's an elf.
Yes, and she's an elf. Because we've never seen either of their ears. Like,
come on now, show me your ears.
Exactly. But I think we get
friends.
I don't
hobbits, Southlanders. Show me your ears. Anyway, somebody might pick up on where that's coming from, but
I don't get it.
These kids are friends, Romans, countrymen. Lend me your ears. It's from Shakespeare.
Okay.
Oh yeah, because I love Shakespeare.
Yeah, a lot of people love Shakespeare. I think that we see. I don't know if we see a ton of Elrond or Durin in the next episode. I don't know what they're going to do with them.
I think they brought
the Balrog soon.
They brought the Galadriel storyline into the Orindir storyline in this one. What we've got to do is we've got to start bringing. That's what's going to happen the next, because there's only a couple more episodes left.
Only 2 episodes.
Yeah, so they got to bring in Durin and Elrond and the Mithril storyline, and they've got to bring in the Harfoots and Gandalf.
They can't mesh. I couldn't see Elrond and Durin
bringing that. The way the story comes out next is the alliance of elves and men is like going to grow and be what we are expecting in the legends.
Well, that's not for a while though.
Well, it's got to start. You don't know how long the battle takes place before the wars or the
Numenor
the
has to
conflict.
Fall in the next 2 episodes.
Why in the next 2 episodes?
Because I felt like it was in a bunch of trailers and everything, and they said that the fall of Numenor was going to be a big plot in this season, and we have 2 episodes left.
We only have a couple episodes.
Maybe that's the ending of the season.
Might be.
Could be. Yeah. Well, I've been noticing on social media that there's been less and less negativity and more support for this show, at least on what I'm seeing. And I think that's because of episodes like this, where it is undeniably great. People are beginning to see how this is a fantastic show, and I welcome them to the club.
No. We welcome you to the fellowship.
The fellowship.
Right. That's right, Nate.
Good job. Good job, Shmuley.
Good job, Sam.
Thank you.
Good.
That's good. All right. Let's talk about some movies. 2 movies in wide release this weekend. One is rated R. The other is PG. I bet you can't guess which one we want to see. That's next on Movie Moments.
At last we will reveal ourselves to the Jedi. At last we will have revenge.
All right. First new release. Amsterdam. Yes.
You just said a bad word.
Yeah, I did. In the 1930s, 3 friends.
I could see somebody making an animated film, kind of like an Over the Hedge type movie, DreamWorks type movie, set in Europe or something like that. But it's all hamsters.
Amsterdam.
And they could call it Hamsterdam.
Yes.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
You could see it happening
I could see it, and I'd probably watch it.
Yes. This one's about in the 1930s, 3 friends witness a murder, are framed for it, and uncover one of the most outrageous plots in American history.
Which is a mostly true
Watergate.
story.
Yes, almost true.
No, it's not that time. It's not that time frame, bro. All right.
The director is David O. Russell. The cast is Christian Bale, Margot Robbie, and John David Washington.
And a bunch of other people.
Studios, 20th Century Studios. So this is a Disney movie.
No, it's not. It's 20th Century movie.
It is rated R for brief violence and bloody images. Going yes or no?
I want to see it.
I want to see it, yeah.
I'm interested.
Yeah.
It is a star-studded
bombed
cast.
by critics, though.
Well, a bunch of people say they just don't understand it. So
that's because probably watching screeners.
No, they watch it. A lot of them watch it in theaters.
Okay,
in IMAX screenings and stuff. So
we'll see. We'll make our own opinion.
This next one. All right,
not our thing.
Lyle Crocodile. It is a feature film based on the children's book, surprisingly, about a crocodile that lives in New York City. The director is Will Speck and Josh Gordon. And the cast is Winslow Fegley and Shawn Mendes. The studio is Sony Pictures.
I need to see like a those memes where it's like another actor's life ruined by drugs and alcohol. It's this guy, Lyle Crocodile, and then Killer Croc in the other frame.
Yeah.
Because I could see that happening.
It is a rated PG for mild peril. And thematic elements. Not on the
It
list.
seems like another Paddington.
I just cannot get into
really bad.
Auto-tune Shawn Mendes singing as a crocodile.
Yeah.
It looks really bad.
Now, if he was an alligator, that'd be different.
Yes.
But, all right. You okay there?
Yeah, for trailers. Till got another trailer.
Till
it looks
it's about the death of Emmett Till and
oh yeah.
Sammy and I saw a trailer before the Woman King for it.
Yeah.
It looks heavy, but the subject is heavy. So
it is absolutely.
Yeah, we might go see it. I don't know.
I don't know. It's one of those movies that
depends on the mood.
Yeah, it's an important. It's an important story though.
For box office results, shocking this week. I will say that. Smile,
Really?
22 million domestic.
Nate, it's October. What did you expect? Of course, it's going to do well.
It's made about double than the last highest grossing horror movie this year for opening weekend.
Dang.
Wow.
It made a lot of money.
That marketing campaign was
great.
It worked. It was wild.
Don't worry, darling. 6 million domestic.
It was a huge drop.
Second week,
like a 60-something% drop.
Ooh,
no wonder. The Woman King also 6 million domestic, and it's fourth weekend.
Third or fourth weekend.
Third or fourth weekend.
Not bad.
That's pretty good comparing to Don't Worry, Darling in its second weekend.
Yikes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we saw Avatar.
We did. Dad
the two of us did.
Mm-hmm.
Sam didn't want to go.
Stay home.
What was your impression of Avatar on the big screen?
Much better in theaters. I will say that. It feels, it's just a testament to how watching movies for the first time is better in a theater than it is at home or something like that. It was great. Looked amazing even in 3D, which we don't do 3D all that much, but this movie was worth it. I don't know. It worked really well in 3D. I think the movie itself is really good. I don't know why it's the highest grossing movie of all time.
That is true.
But I think it's a really good movie, and I'm interested in the next one. But confused as well because the sergeant jerk guy from the first movie back in this one somehow.
Really? Are you sure of that?
Yeah, he's casted, and he's
the
the
dude
same
who
character.
died at the end.
Yeah, the dude
I thought
who
he died
at the end. Yeah, and Sigourney Weaver's character. I guess she's playing some other new Navi. That's the daughter of Jake.
This is getting interesting. All right.
It's
alrighty then.
Really strange.
All right, we need to move on because this is getting weird. Okay, let's talk about Andor. The second arc of Andor began in episode 4, and things really started to feel like Star Wars in it. We got TIE fighters, we got Mon Mothma,
yep,
and we got Coruscant. Let's talk Andor.
Bulky religions and ancient weapons are no match for a good blaster at your side, kid.
Rebellions are built on hope.
Force is with me, and I am with the Force.
If you live long enough, you see the same eyes in different people.
Follow that 3-episode arc thing that they did in the Clone Wars, and they did it in Rebels too to some extent. With that, what do you think about them following that same type of format?
I don't know. I don't mind it. I mean, it's a little frustrating when you have to keep waiting a week to see where it's going to be going. But I think that them releasing the first arc altogether helped a lot because that set up a lot of the story. And without that, it would have just been like, okay, well, where are we going with this?
Right. Yeah, it would have been. I know people that have only watched 1 or 2 episodes.
Exactly.
And their opinion of it is like, wow, where are we going with it? Like, this is not. Well, you know, that it's slow and stuff, and I think that that there's an element where that would be the case if you had to wait a week or you weren't watching it all that way. So, what about you, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, I think it makes sense for this story just because it's different, and it's a different theme or tone to it, and they're going longer, and it's they're designed it to take up this certain amount of time. So I think it fits well.
Would you rather it be more like a Mandalorian series where it's like every episode was one story for the most part?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I'm not a huge fan of, like Nathan mentioned a little bit ago, procedural shows. Generally, those just don't appeal to me. And that's why I liked Mandalorian and all of that. But something about Andor, it takes a bit of getting used to, I guess, just because with Clone Wars, when it does a 3-episode arc, that's 20-minute episodes each.
You're right.
This one, it's 40 to 50 minutes per episode. So it's different. I get Nathan's point in saying it's kind of annoying to wait a week to see the rest of the story, but I think we'll get used to it the more it happens. You know, we haven't had to really experience it yet. We got all 3 episodes last time. We got the full arc last week.
Right.
So I think it's got potential. I like that they're doing something different at least.
Cool. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about I think this was like one of the moments where I'm like, okay, now I feel like Star Wars in here, because we cut to Coruscant. You could tell that was the planet. They show that on the screen. I got pretty excited about it. It's kind of hard to believe, but we haven't been to Coruscant in live action since Revenge of the Sith.
Dang.
With that, we kind of, we knew this was going to come in this episode or in this series, but man, was it cool to finally see it happen. Nate, how did you feel? How did it feel to you, at least, to see the bright center of the universe on the big screen for the first time?
Oh, what do you mean?
You've never seen Coruscant on the big screen?
What? I don't get it, because I saw Revenge of the Sith. I didn't see this in theaters.
You didn't see that in the theaters.
Well, you didn't watch Andor in the theaters either.
No, that's true. No, I'm just totally confused by that. Then, maybe I'm thinking this is cinematic. Then,
I guess subconsciously.
I guess.
I don't know. It did feel different though. Coruscant itself, not in war, which is something we haven't seen before. We haven't really seen Coruscant, at least from the outside, without a giant battle going on, because that happened in Revenge of the Sith.
Except.
Well, yeah,
we only saw people going in.
Yes, we started with it.
But
basically, the entire part of this segment is just completely.
Well, yes, but it was cool to see Coruscant after. I
was wondering why you looked at me so confused.
I was confused too. I was like,
I was reading this question before you were asking it, and I was like, how is this?
I really did in my head have this feeling like we watched this in the movie theater.
Hey, I guess that's a good thing.
That's funny. All right. Yeah, says
it was very exciting to see Coruscant.
Why don't we move? What was it like for you to see Coruscant again?
I thought it was cool too. Part of me was a little disappointed when I learned that Colin Trevorrow's Duel of the Fates was going to go back to Coruscant in episode 9. I was like, oh, that would have been so cool.
Thanks for saving this part of the segment, Nate or Sam.
You're welcome.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
That's what I'm here for. It was really cool to see. It is such a cool planet. I would love to get more things set on it, specifically, maybe like a show where they talk about the lower levels, like 616, or was it 616?
I think so. I don't know.
Or what was that one world?
It was Underworld or something.
No, it was a level. Like,
yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I thought it was a game.
It was
maybe
a game. It was a game.
Well, what was the level?
So basically, what you just learned from us is we really
don't know Legends.
We don't know Star Wars. At this point,
I know Star Wars.
We're frauds. Disney's check didn't clear the last month,
so we don't care anymore. We're just focused on Amazon because their checks,
right?
We're getting the money from them.
Let's talk about a different planet that I know we've never seen on the big screen.
All right, that's a good idea.
Aldhani. The story kind of diverts into 2 different plot lines. You all right there?
God bless you.
I'm good.
All right. It diverts into 2 different plot lines in this episode when Luthen convinces Cassian to help some terrorists on the planet of Aldhani.
Well, I guess. Yeah.
Think about it. They are. Yeah.
Rebels are terrorists.
I was like, but the Empire's the bad guys. Well, it doesn't make them not terrorists.
He wants them to help Cassian to help them infiltrate a nearby Imperial compound and steal the quarterly payroll funds, which I thought was weird.
Yeah, like why do they keep the payroll in a vault? Like
it was weird.
They don't have electronic money, but we do. That's a little strange.
Yeah,
but, all right, whatever.
So for right now, Sam, Cassian, go ahead.
Maybe the Empire's smart though, and they're still using like a gold standard, sort of. They have to have.
They don't have their own Federal Reserve,
right? They have to have something backing up every credit that's flowing out there. So
and that's what they're stealing.
There's like I don't know, like Beskar bricks or gold bricks in there or something, but in the cliche shape, something like that.
I love that.
That's all I can think of.
I love it when a segment goes off the rails like this one has. All right, right now Cassian is nothing more than a mercenary, getting paid to help out. What do you think is going to happen, Sam, to turn him into a true believer?
Well, first off, this felt like this whole like plot feels very Solo. I don't know if I was the only one who made that connection.
Okay,
I made a different connection, but I'll talk about that.
He's like, oh, I need this guy. We're bringing him in. Oh, but he's coming in late on the job, and nobody in the team really likes him, but they need him, and he's all mysterious. But anyway, as to what's going to make him a true believer, I don't.
All right, Stanley.
I don't know yet. Well, that's what Dad said. It is weird because obviously Luthen, he's in the rebellion, right? Or he's a part of the rebellion somehow. We saw that with his interaction with Mon Mothma. So, maybe Cassian learning why they're really getting this funds. It's probably to fund the rebellion, and then Luthen takes him to the rebellion and like, look, what a difference you're making. This is where you're needed the most. Maybe that'll turn him, but there doesn't seem to be a clear thread that's going to lead to that point at the moment. But there's a lot of series to go.
Yeah, there's nothing really showing where he's going to turn into a rebel at this point. I mean, I can see where you're coming from with Solo, Sam. I did too, but I also connected Matrix a little bit because a lot of the characters seem very similar.
Yeah, I can see
the
that
main
too.
guy who doesn't like Cassian feel a lot like Tank. He's going to betray them. It's just he's going to. And then
Cypher,
the young guy.
No,
Cypher.
Cypher's the guy.
Yeah.
And then the young guy, he's Mouse.
Yeah.
He's 100%.
Oh yeah,
like
you're
him and
so
everything.
right.
And then the general
the chick is Trinity.
Exactly. So much.
Dang.
I was watching it. I'm like, this is just the Matrix.
That's a really good connection.
Yeah. And so it took everything. And I'm like, oh, sorry, I already know this is going to turn out. So
that's awesome.
Soon Cassian's going to be stopping blaster bolts.
That would be awesome. But no, he's going to navigate that weird star hole.
That's going to be such a cool.
We
shot.
saw it in the trailers.
I know it's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see that. But
things are not going to go well on Aldhani when they do this. Everybody's going to die.
Probably.
Except for Cassian because he can't die.
And Luthen.
And
no.
Luthen's
Cassian's going to die. That's how they're going to throw a twist at you.
And then she's going to kiss him and he's going to come back.
She's going to use the Force healing.
Yes.
Obi-Wan's going to show up in Force healing.
She's like, sup, dude? All right, you're good.
Right, I'm back now. I'm going to go back to Tatooine.
All right, I'm done.
That's it. Maybe not.
This is going way
Cal
left
Kestis
field
shows
right
up
now.
with
Cal
BD1
Kestis,
and
there we
stem.
go.
It's just like, BD, stim. All right, I'm going to go fix the Jedi Order again.
All right, maybe not. Let's talk about Miro. Our first visit to Coruscant started with the fallout from Cassian's escape from Ferrix. The ISB, the Imperial Security Bureau. We haven't seen them a lot outside. We did see, Krennic is ISB,
right?
In that with his beautiful cape.
That's a cool cape,
and we saw
beautiful cape.
We saw one guy. Is it Yularen that we see him in A New Hope at the Imperial Round Table?
Oh, yeah, he's in the white outfit. Yeah.
So we see those, but we haven't really seen them in live action.
Not much.
Often. But we got him in this one, and this wasn't on the big screen. Just so you know, this is on like our big screen.
On a regular TV screen.
This wasn't a silver screen.
No, but we should get a theater room.
We do need one. All right. And we'll open up a Patreon for you guys to help us do that. Okay. The ISB is informed of the conflict on Ferrix, and then we're introduced to Supervisor Miro.
Do they have Star Wars Karens?
They do in this one. She's much more interested in discovering the connection to the device that Andor was trying to sell to Luthen than she is about what happened on Ferrix. Other than that, Nate, is Miro obsessed with uncovering who stole the device because she's truly concerned about Imperial security, or does she have an ulterior motive?
There's something on that device. There's a star path or something that's a little bit. She doesn't want to get out. I don't know what it could be or how it's dealing with it, but there's something that is important with that device that we just don't know yet. I also think she's trying to climb up the ranks and become, more powerful in the Empire, and which is what
that
everybody
ladder.
wants to do in the Empire. If you're working for the Empire, you're always going to cut each other's throats. Let's just be honest. That's how it goes. So,
what do you think, Sam? Your hand is up.
I have a confession. I didn't know it was spelled ulterior with a U. I thought it was always ulterior motive.
Maybe I spelled it wrong.
I don't know, but it's not. It doesn't have the little red squiggly, so it's got to be right.
No squiggly.
No squiggly. But as for
it's like on the Manning cast when Eli
it is
Manning.
Ulterior. It's you.
When Eli Manning was talking about them wrecking havoc.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to be
at least I know it's
havoc.
wreaking havoc.
And Peyton just kept bringing it up throughout the entire thing. It was trending on Twitter during the game because that's kind of like your situation. Anyway, answer the question.
Yeah. I think the device itself is enough for her to want to get it back. I mean, those star charts, based on what Andor was saying, would be hugely helpful. Basically, it would allow the rebellion to travel wherever they want, undetected by the Empire. That's not something you want falling in their hands, especially if it was her jurisdiction, as she was saying, right? If this thing gets out there, it's really not going to look well or, you know, reflect well on her. Also, I think she's just kind of using it as like a leverage or an in, basically. Maybe she does know about Cassian, but why does she care about Cassian? Up until
she's his sister.
Probably not.
that was an idea.
She's Carrie?
But I don't think Andor's really made enough waves for the Empire to be like all on him at the moment. I mean, yeah, he kind of screwed stuff up on, I don't even remember where that was, but Ferrix, yeah, but that's not enough for like the Empire to be like, oh, number one guy, you got to find him now, you know. So it is weird. I'm sure we'll get more of her motivation in the next, you know, coming episodes.
Any chance she's not who she seems to be?
You think she's rebellion?
Like she's been planted there by Mon Mothma. She's new to the ISB.
Yeah, I could
she's
see
wanting to find that thing because she understands what's going on. Rebellion needs it, and
I can see it.
I think that would be an interesting
like
thing.
That.
With it. You never know. Luthen's transformation from revolutionary to part of Coruscant's high society was absolutely fascinating. His public persona is a bit of a fop. I knew I was going to use a word you guys wouldn't. Sort of...
FOP. That's a word?
It is. You look it up.
I will.
Yeah. But we see that he's working closely with Mon Mothma as she works to foment, because there's fomenting taking place.
What does that mean?
Foment. It's like stirring up. It's growing. It's
so many weird words.
The foment, though, that's like from the show. Episode 3.
Right, I remember him saying it. It's
Is
weird.
this what you mean by fop? You know, a man who is concerned with his clothes and appearance in an effective and excessive way.
Yes.
Or in other words,
a dandy.
A dandy.
A dandy.
A dandy.
I feel like that's kind of not a good word anymore.
I'm a Yankee Doodle dandy. All right. Sam, what do you think about Luthen and Mon Mothma's relationship? Or do you think it really is?
Oh, geez. I think it's just kind of informer and for me. I don't really know if that's a word, but you know, I think that he's just giving her the information she needs, and this museum is more of a front,
yeah.
Obviously. But I liked it. I really liked the way he like had to like do a makeover, and like he was even rehearsing his personality there in the ship before he stepped out. I think that's cool. It's not really something we've seen.
It really okay.
Kudos to Stellan Skarsgård.
I will let you remind me to come back to this point, but I want you to get a chance to talk in there. What do you think the relationship between Luthen and Mon Mothma really is?
I think it's strained. It feels a little bit, but I just think that's just because of the weight of what they're trying to do. It's heavy, and I mean they're the only ones running it right now, and they're getting, you know, just every side is attacking them. They don't know who they can trust and all that. And I mean, honestly, I really like Luthen's collection. He has a pretty cool collection.
He did.
The freaking Star Killer,
some like Mortis
thing?
stuff.
Mortis stuff.
The Mortis
I was more interested in the Star Killer stuff because that's the first time we've seen anything from those games in canon. So that was pretty cool.
Which if he has like, how did he get the Mortis tablets?
Well, that's before Rebels.
Yeah. So the Empire obviously
haven't taken them yet.
Took it.
Awesome.
It.
It's so cool.
It is cool. So it's interesting. One of my favorite stories, novels, was a story called The Scarlet Pimpernel. It was a story about this British high society guy during the French Revolution who like infiltrated high society in Paris during the French Revolution.
I think I've heard it.
But he was actually secretly like a beast and was like getting the people that were being sent to the guillotine, like sneaking them out of the country. And he was, but his public persona was a fop, like literally like that. And he was like a fool. Everybody thought he was a fool. Interestingly enough, the film version of that is the first time I ever saw Ian McKellen in a movie.
Really?
He plays he plays the inspector that's trying to find out who the Scarlet Pimpernel is.
Huh.
And
isn't there some famous line from that?
They seek him here. They seek him
That's
there.
it.
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah,
Those Frenchies seek him everywhere. Is he from heaven or is he from hell, that damned elusive Pimpernel. So,
yeah.
That's
I want to watch that again.
It's a great show. Yeah,
It's a quote. It's basically poetry, so it's fine.
That's right.
So if it's poetry, it's fine now.
Wow.
All right.
All right. Why don't we just go ahead and move into a dad moment here? Right.
I am your father.
All right. One thing I really noticed in this episode is that so many people are pretending to be something that they're not. Luthen is managing terrorist acts across the galaxy, but on Coruscant, he's a silly antiquities dealer, concerned too much about his appearance.
A fop.
That's right. So you've learned something.
I'm going to try and use that as much as possible.
That's right.
People are going to be like, is that a slur? I'm like, no, I promise
it's a real world.
not.
Look it up. Google it. Mon Mothma is a respected senator, of course, but we know she's organizing a rebellion. Even Cassian is going by a different name and pretending to be somebody he's not. We don't really know, again, who Supervisor Miro is and what she's really all about. I've got my theories. And I think that there's a lesson here. Reality is that we need to understand that people aren't always what they seem. And while we should assume the best of others, we also shouldn't be naive either. Trust people, but be realistic about them as well.
That's smart.
It's a good dad moment.
It is a good dad
moment.
moment.
And I got to use the word fop multiple times in this episode. So,
yes.
All right. Well, that's it. Episode 5 is out. I mean, by the time you're listening to this, it's probably out because we got this released late.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you listen to it tonight before you go to sleep. But anyway.
Which, I mean, we admire your dedication.
Yeah, thank you for doing that. Things are probably going to go south really quickly for Cassian and his friends on Aldhani. I think it's going to go very
certainly
bad in this next episode.
It's the second act movement in this arc, so it's got to go bad.
Yeah. The one thing we can be sure about, though, is that Cassian will make it out unless our theory proves true that he dies and is brought back to life by Obi-Wan Kenobi using Force healing.
Or Cal
using a stem pack. But the others, who knows? So we should probably move on. Anything else you guys want to talk about?
Anything else?
Yeah, Harrison Ford is apparently rumored to join the MCU.
And Kathleen Kennedy refused to allow them to announce it at San Diego Comic-Con, she said.
Really?
That's what that rumor
is. That what Mike Zero said?
I think it was Cosmic Book Resources.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I think he's a little too old to join a commitment role in the MCU.
I heard that he's going to be
General Ross.
Yeah, which I thought we already had General Ross.
But we already
he died. William Hurt died.
I did not know that. Okay, I am sorry. Moving on.
All right.
I just want to take a second to apologize to all of you for this episode. Thank you very much. All right, BB Nate.
Black Adam's DCEU theme song officially released.
You liked it?
It's good.
Yeah.
I haven't listened to it yet.
It's pretty good. Yeah, it's gonna fit with the movie.
Oh, cool.
I need to read the Dr. Fate comic that came out today. To tie in with the movie.
If you can ever get to the theater.
The comic.
Or get to the comic.
I have 7 I need to get.
7?
7.
Holy cow. That's a lot of comics.
Christian Bale wants to play
Batman.
an iconic character from Star Wars lore. He wants to play the guy that bumped his head.
That's awesome.
Helmet Stormtrooper. Or whatever his name is. Yeah. That's awesome.
I want a whole movie. I want a whole movie.
I literally just want like a short.
Could we make
somewhere.
that instead of She-Hulk?
I just want a short of like, it's like, a minute long of a stormtrooper just walking into like the break room, right? Opening the space fridge, grabbing a bag of frozen space peas.
You really thought this through.
Sitting down, taking off his helmet, and then just
it being Christian Bale.
And it's just Christian Bale, and that's it. And then it cuts off.
I'm all for it.
Just make it like a post-credit.
In fact,
scene.
501st needs to just go ahead and find a costume for him and get some fan people together and help him live out his dream.
Just make it a post-credit scene in one of like an episode. Or something.
That'd be awesome. A post-credit scene at the end of season 2 of Andor.
Yes.
Well, yeah, I don't think the timeline works.
It's pretty close.
Yeah. Right, maybe this is like a repeat offense for this guy. Like he's hits his head on doors all the time.
Just an officer comes up behind him.
He like takes off the helmet. He's already got a Band-Aid in that spot.
So what you guys are experiencing listening to this right now is really what it's like living in this house. Yeah. These kinds of things are where we go. And so we
apologize.
End this episode. Thank you so much for listening to Tatooine Sons, a pop culture podcast.
Yeah, and if you somehow Had a good time listening. It would be awesome if you could share this with your friends.
Yeah, and of course, the show's only a small part of the Tatooine Sons world, so if you're glutton for punishment and you want more of this, be sure to like us on Facebook and join our Facebook discussion group. And then you can also follow us on Twitter to get in on all the action and keep up to date with everything we've got going on over there at TatooineSons.com.
That's right. And don't forget to follow the show on your favorite podcast app so that you don't miss our next episode. And for those of you thinking about it, please don't unsubscribe now. Give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever podcast app you prefer. We good?
Mm-hmm. We good.
All right. Anything else you guys want to say?
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you, always.
This party's over.
I like that Wookiee.
Don't get technical with me.
Join, please.
Yep, yep.